Hey, what's up, sexy people? My name is Chris Martinez. I am the host of Operation Agency Freedom. And in this episode, we are welcoming you back for part 2 of a 3-part series on the 3 types of meetings that you must run in your digital agency. And last week, we talked about the daily deadline meeting. And today, we are going to focus on a weekly all hands on deck meeting that you absolutely need to run in your agency. So we actually started out running these all hands on deck meetings, and I'm going to explain to you in a second. We started running these, and then we actually stopped doing them, and then we brought them back because our staff really missed them. So if you want to discover how to run a meeting that your team actually wants to attend, then make sure you take lots of notes because you're going to absolutely love this episode. And as I mentioned, this is the second part of a 3-part series. So in this specific episode, we're going to talk about, of course, how to run a weekly stand-up or an all hands on deck meeting, what you need to cover and why, and how long this meeting should be so that everybody is engaged and they stay engaged. And of course, we want them to enjoy the meetings. So at the end of this episode, as always, make sure that you go visit our website where you can find the show notes and any links that I might mention. And if you enjoy this episode, make sure that you subscribe so that you are always the first to know when a new episode is released. So without further ado, let's head over and listen to the full episode. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Operation Agency Freedom. I am very excited to have you with me today. So this is going to be part 2 of our 3-part series on the 3 types of meetings that you must run. Last week, we covered the daily deadline meeting. If you missed that episode, make sure and you go listen to that. It's a very, very important meeting that you must run in your agency to keep everybody accountable and make sure that your agency is running smoothly and that you're hitting deadlines and that you're maximizing your profitability. But that's not the topic for today. Today, we're going to talk about a weekly stand-up meeting or an all hands on deck meeting that you need to be running as well. A little background on this. So, and this is what happens when you have really good people too, is they give you great feedback and they want to know what's going on within the company, not just, on the projects that they're working on. But we created this weekly meeting and I actually called it the sandwich meeting. It's still called the sandwich meeting. And this meeting has evolved over time. But when we started it out, it was basically, we wanted to make sure that everybody was in the loop as to what was going on with the company because we were growing so fast. And things were changing literally like on a daily basis. And so we would have an all hands on deck meeting every Monday, same day, same time. And basically we would go around the room at first and everybody would talk about, the things that they're working on, what's going well, what they need help with, and then what their goals are for the week. So that's kind of like the sandwich part of it. So the positive, the what they need help on, and then at the bottom, at the end, what they're working on that's really exciting. And I, of course, would start every meeting. And so, we kept that going until we had around 25, maybe 29 people. And then it just became logistically, it was too hard to do and the meetings were running too long. So we stopped doing it and then we ended up bringing it back because when we were doing our quarterly reviews with people, they would say, hey, I wish I knew what was going on with the company. So then we started the sandwich meeting again. And I was running the meeting and basically talking about, the big things that went well last week, any setbacks that we might have had, and then our goal for the week. Now it's changed again because as we've continued to grow, and keep in mind, we have over 90 people and growing like crazy. But as we've grown, I now have department heads. So I don't have to report everything that's going on within the company. So now when we run a sandwich meeting, I'll usually start it off. And usually now we're introducing some new team member that we've just brought on, or multiple team members. Like there was one week where we brought on 4 new people just in 1 week. So I was like, wow. Anyways, so I'll typically report on just like high level overall business stuff. I still manage the marketing and sales teams. So I'll talk about the accomplishments that we had on the sales side, any setbacks, and then the goals for the week. And then I'll actually turn it over. And if any of my department heads have anything to report, they'll basically follow the same format. So it's really, really helpful because it lets everybody know on a weekly basis what our objectives are for the week and then how we're progressing towards our overall goals. Everybody knows what the mission is for the company and what we're looking to accomplish on a monthly and quarterly and annual basis. We have longer all hands meetings every quarter. Those are always done on a Saturday. And those ones, we essentially cover all of the monthly progress on the previous quarter. And then we talk about the plan for the quarter coming up. They'd already seen the goals that we have for the entire company when we did our annual kickoff meeting, which is our longest meeting of the entire year. So it's ultimately just letting them know, hey, this is what went right. This is what went wrong. This is how we're going to correct anything where we're behind, and then we move forward. Every department does that in detail. So that's a much longer meeting. But our sandwich meetings go pretty quick, and we cover those three things. Each department, if they have anything significant to report, they will go through their sandwich, and then usually ends up with me, just giving the objectives and any other fun inspirational notes that I have for that particular week. So another reason why the sandwich meeting is so unbelievably important is because it gives you an opportunity to get everybody together. And this is also the importance of having a very structured meeting. So as you start to grow your agency, and maybe you'll have 90 people, maybe you'll have 900 people, but every person that you bring into the company, you need to recognize that when you run a meeting, every minute that you spend in that meeting is not 1 minute. It's 1 minute times the number of people that you have in the agency. So when I run an all hands on deck meeting, which we do on a weekly basis, that 1 minute is now multiplied by, I think it's 91, right? So I'm taking 91 production minutes out of our schedule for every minute that I have that meeting. So you better make sure, or I better make sure, of course, that the value that the team is getting out of that meeting is far greater than the production that I'm missing by having them in that call, right? So whether that is in terms of like ensuring that they understand what we're doing, or emphasizing an objective, or talking about something that we messed up on, so that's a learning opportunity, whatever that is, every minute has to mean a lot in terms of ROI to the company. And when I say ROI to the company, it doesn't necessarily mean like dollar for dollar. It can be somewhat vague, or where it doesn't have a direct correlation to, $1 spent, $180 in return. But there has to be some clear ROI component to when I'm running my meetings. So it's the same thing with you guys, right? So even if it's just two of you guys, you still need to consider that it's times two. Like every minute that you're in a meeting is times two. And so by having that sandwich format, we are able to convey everything that we need in a very productive and consistent way, so that when people show up, they know exactly what they're listening to. They know the objective for the meeting. And at the end, they have actionable steps if we give them, an assignment, right? So for example, I will often talk about retention. Retention is one of the most important things that we focus on here at Dude, ensuring that our customers are happy, right? If they're happy and we're hitting their deadlines and we're doing the work to their standards and we're not having like QC issues or anything like that, then they typically will stay with us. And ultimately they'll start sending over more work because they trust us. And that's what we want. We never, ever want to lose a customer. We work so damn hard to get a customer that we never, ever want to lose them. So I will talk about retention. And even if it's just like mentioning, a client issue and the specifics of what happened, at least they know, that they need to be a little bit more focused, or it's top of mind that they need to focus on the three things that we always emphasize: bridge, connect, and deliver. And so everybody knows what needs to happen. They're focused on making sure that they're not making that mistake. And at the end of the day, we always get better with every sandwich meeting that we do. So how do you put that into context of what you're doing, right? So like you might be an agency owner and you're wondering about how you can use this sandwich method when you're running your meetings. And by no means you have to copy exactly what we do. I do think it's very important that you have a weekly meeting. And if your staff aren't actually asking for a weekly stand-up meeting, then I think you need to look at who you have on the team and make sure that they are fully engaged and that they believe in what you're doing. I think that's one of the best parts about running our sandwich meetings, that people do really enjoy showing up to them. And we have, obviously perfect attendance, not because we do track it, but not because we're like calling them out if they miss the meeting, but they just understand that this is a great opportunity to see everybody on the team. And we usually have new team members popping in so they get to see the growth. And they get to hear how things are actually going from a leadership perspective. And because we hire people who care about the big picture, they really enjoy seeing that stuff. So if you're running your stand-up meetings now and you feel like they could be improved, a few things that I think that you need to do. One is have a structure, right? So same day, same time. That's the easiest one. I can't tell you though how many people are constantly late to their own meetings. And actually, a few weeks ago, I run a mastermind, and my mastermind ran over, and it was like 5 minutes over, and so I showed up late. And one of the people on my leadership team laid into me about it. They're like, "You can't keep people on hold like that." And I was like, "Yeah, you're 100% right." So I wrote an apology to everybody. I wrote a long email saying how I apologize. I won't let it happen again. I moved our meeting from 10:30 to now 10:45 so that I could ensure that I wasn't going to be late. But think about that though in a bigger context, right? Like, obviously, you would never tell your staff that it's okay to be late for a client meeting, right? It's unbelievably important to be on time for client meetings. If you're late to your own internal staff meetings, what is that actually saying about you and how you value your team? And what's the message that you're saying about being on time for any meetings? So if you're late to your own meetings or you are canceling on them all the time, you're undermining a lot of the positive things that you're trying to teach your staff to do for your clients. So it's really, really important that you show up to your own meeting on time. So have the meeting, same day, same time, and create a format that will ultimately be the same every single week. As we talked about last week, it's really important that you have an agenda for each meeting so that people can understand what they're going to get out of that meeting. So I like the sandwich meeting format because very, very quickly, it covers all the important parts, right? So usually people want to know like, hey, we had X, Y, and Z goals. Did we hit those goals? And so you get the opportunity to talk about how we actually performed and be honest with them, right? So don't sugarcoat everything. This is the other thing. It's like you have to be willing to be real and vulnerable with your staff. This is one of the things that actually helped us last year when COVID hit. And, we lost 18% of our revenue in like 2 days. And I had a meeting with my staff and I said, hey guys, I've got to be completely straight with you. Like, we are in a really, really tough spot. Right. And I need all of you guys to buckle down and just do whatever it takes to keep our clients happy. And we had to furlough some people, of course, so they got to see that. And it was a really, really difficult time. But I trusted them and they trusted me. And I told them, like, I don't know what's going to happen. I can't guarantee that April is going to be better than March. It could be worse. But I can guarantee you that I'm going to fight like hell. And I'm not going to let any of you guys down. Like, I will work every single day as hard as I possibly can to ensure that all of your jobs are safe and that we can get things back on track and continue to grow the company. And then internally, we proactively had to make a bunch of budget cuts to anticipate any future losses of clients and stuff like that. So I was completely upfront with them. And I believe that it gained a lot of respect from the team members because they saw that like I wasn't bullshitting them, right? And even if you are bullshitting them, like, people are smart in that sense, like they'll pick up on that. So always be honest with your staff. And this weekly sandwich meeting, if you decide to call it a sandwich meeting, is such a great opportunity for you to be real and honest about what's going on. Like, by all means, praise the hell out of the people that are doing really well or that did amazing things. There is no reason to keep that out of the meeting. If anything, it's like the best time to do it. Like, it's amazing how much people appreciate a little bit of recognition. Definitely give praise where praise is due. But if there's some not so great things that happened, talk about it, talk about it and let people know. And then the big thing is talk about how we're going to fix the problem and just make sure that everybody knows that it's everybody's responsibility to figure out the solution. right? And if you can involve other people and be like, hey, what do you guys think about something? Or like, what else can you guys commit to doing? All the better. It creates more interaction. So that's ultimately how we run our sandwich meetings. Now, in terms of a time frame, we usually get the sandwich meeting done in about 15 minutes. We have it blocked out on the calendar for 30, but I like to try and get it done in 15. Now, occasionally some of our departments have something important that they need to discuss. It's also important that you guys communicate. So like usually if I don't have a lot to talk about that day, I'll just, basically give away most of my time to somebody else so that we can still try and get people out in 15 minutes. But sometimes, a few of us have to speak, especially like at the beginning of the month, we usually have kind of like a monthly wrap up. That call usually goes about 30 minutes. But yeah, talk to everybody else that's going to speak, try and keep it under 15 minutes. 15 minutes is that magical number. You should be able to convey everything that you need to in 15 minutes or less. If you need to go longer than your allotted time, then one, rethink what you're actually going to talk about so that you can keep it shorter, or at the very least, let people know. And then if some people need to be excused because they have prior commitments or things don't actually apply to them, then just let them know that they can jump off. But you don't want these meetings to drag out. If they drag out, if they don't have an agenda, if people feel like there's no purpose to the call, then people are going to become less engaged. And eventually you're not going to be able to accomplish what you really want to do with these all hands on deck meetings. And I believe that these are some of the most precious meetings that you can have. And part of your objective as a leader is to use this time and maximize the effectiveness, right? It's like you don't get a lot of time to be in front of all your staff. So you as a leader need to put in a lot of time and effort preparing for your meetings and making sure that they're going well. And if you do that, I promise you the company will run more smoothly. Your staff will be much more engaged, and ultimately you'll get more stuff done. You'll be more profitable as an agency. And at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot more fun. Like I've been on both sides of it, and hopefully, you've been on the downside, but now you're on the upswing. Having an agency that's not running well, that people aren't engaged with the vision, and you don't have the right team members around you, it's very, very stressful and it's draining, and it's not very fun. But on the flip side, when you have a great team of people, when they absolutely believe in what you're doing and they're willing to go the extra mile for the company and for your customers, and when you guys are making money and you personally are also making money, it just gets a whole lot more fun. Like you won't dread waking up on a Monday and going to work, or you won't dread checking your email, because you're worried that a client's going to complain about something that went wrong. Like I said, I've been on both sides. The meetings that you run, the sandwich meeting or the Monday stand-up or whatever you want to call it, such precious time. And if you run it correctly, it can have a huge impact on the success of your agency. So with that being said, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. We've got one more in the series. It's also one of my favorite meetings. We started running this one last year. It's had a very big impact on our success as a company. So I will see you on the third episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much to me if you could share it with your friends, family, and basically anyone who will find the same value in this episode that you did. And to get the latest from me, then let's definitely connect on social media. You can go to Facebook, facebook.com/Dude Agency, or Instagram @dudeagency.io, or you can check us out on YouTube on our YouTube channel. And then, of course, you can always visit our website at dudeagency.io, where you can see all of our other episodes of Operation Agency Freedom. You can also register for any live trainings that we have going on how to run a highly profitable agency. And of course, you can see how we help digital agencies with the people, the processes, and the education so that they can take on more projects and scale profitably. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.